This is the first lecture on the 10 Sfirot. The 10 Sfirot are the elementary particles of creation. Any complete ontology, concept, organism, reality will have to contain all of these 10 Sfirot. And so that translates that down into organs or whatever have you. Anything which has a completion will have all of these 10 elements. It's a very useful thing to come in contact with. And so I'm going to just read them out to you. We have at the top Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. So there's those are the 10 Sfirot, although you might be wondering where's dot. So the reason why I didn't put dot in here is because typically dot and keter are somewhat mutually exclusive. In the where the Arizal is discussing dot, he'll take out the keter and he'll start at the top with chokhmah, and vice versa. If he's discussing keter, then dot won't be part of the subject matter because they kind of functionally different, although they have a lot in common. But the 10 Sfirot will arrange themselves since it's a dynamic organism, the relationship between the Sfiros is very important to understand, and the way they organize themselves along 3 columns, left, right, and center, is central to the Kabbalah and their understanding. Furthermore, we can map them onto the human form, because the human form is a very transcendent revelation of this basic wisdom of the 10 Sfirot, and it's a man's form, a woman's form, and the top one is Keter again, right? That's above the head, and we're going to translate them. We call that crown. I'm going to translate that as crown. A Keter is a crown in Hebrew, and the crown is above the head. Obviously, in the times of kings, they would wear crowns in order to demonstrate their connection to the transcendent. So too, the midah, the character, the trait of Keter is something which is unknowable, but it's the source of our consciousness, our awareness. After that, we have Chokhmah, which is wisdom, and this is the right side, which is the expansive side. So it's the abstract side of wisdom, whereas the other side is the female side, where things become real. That's understanding, which is a practical kind of wisdom. And then down in the bottom of the head is the dot, which is where the intellect, which is above, emanating, coming from the Keter, will now translate into deed and action as it moves into the body. So this is called knowledge. Knowledge is an intimate connection to something, which means that there's a reality to it, a physical experience of it, perhaps. The top 3 are their own category, and the Arizal calls them the Shalosh Rishonot, or Gar, and as opposed to the bottom Sfirot, which are called the 7 Tachtonot, Sheva Tachtonot, or Zat. So these are categorically different, because in the top we have the olam of machshava, of thought, and below we have the olam of maaseh, of deed. You notice that when we're discussing this distinction, dot didn't fall into either of them, because dot is the mediator from above to below. The dot, right, emerges from the first 3 Sfirot and is crystallized into something that can now filter down into the bottom. So now we're going to continue through the rest of the Sfirot of the Zat, of the 7 lower aspects. On the right side we have Chesed. Again, the right side is the expansive side, and Chesed is the right hand, which is the most dexterous hand, and therefore Chesed is the power to give over and actualize kindness, we'll call it. The left side is Gvura, which was mastery, which is there's a withholding. At a certain point, one has to lift up his hands and move on to the next project. And Gvura sort of is this restriction. It's the left side. In the middle, we have Tiferet, which is beauty, because beauty is the balance between the left and the right sides, giving and withholding. There's a time to give and a time to stop giving, and the beautiful thing is when we do this at the proper time. That's the aspect of beauty. As we move down to the lower level of Sfirot, which are below the middle ones, these are ones which are starting to we're projecting ourselves far and away in the world. So Netzach is called perpetuity, right? The Chesed is an immediate kind of a actualization, whereas Netzach is a more distant one. The right leg enables us to move around and really act. The left leg complements the right leg, but it's a type of restriction, but it's the restriction. It is the projection of the restriction, right? Just as the above, the Gvura was like heroicism. We know a heroic person can really take it. He can forego things, and glory is the aspect of that which goes on and on. What's glorious about the left leg is that it enables man to go around and really conquer the world. Yesod is the foundation, which is the more internal now aspect of projection at a distance, procreation, projecting to the next generation. And it's called foundation because the seed is a very small contribution, but it actually forms the very foundation that the next generation will build upon. Finally, we have Malchut, which is sovereignty. It's the expression of all of the above Sfirot. And inasmuch as there's a perfection in the above Sfirot, you will have sovereignty. And inasmuch as there isn't, as they're disconnected and they're not arrayed properly and don't have the proper relationship, which is the subject of the Kabbalah, you won't have sovereignty. Sovereignty is really the essential, and it's the purpose of creation, to manifest sovereignty. It's the purpose of it's the manifestation of any concept is this midah of Malchut. And I thank you for watching our introduction to the Sfirot.